Welcome back, Husker fans. I am Brittany Benson, and we're back for another year of Tommie Frazier's X's and O's, brought to you by Towers Productions. We have Jimmy Shields, sports analyst, here to give us some insight on the upcoming Husker season, and legend Tommie Frazier.
Hello, 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 sports fans.
All right, so what have you guys been up to this offseason?
Well, I've just been working a lot, traveling all over the United States, talking college football and talking to people about business. And now I'm finally back. Football season is 5 days away. I'm ready to go.
All right.
Just basically in training for this show. You know, that's all I do is just focus on the show. So to be ready to compliment Tommie, do the best I can. But with the spring, I think we got some insight into what's going to be happening.
We did
this fall.
We did, and I'm still skeptical, and it's gonna be interesting. But and the one side of the ball that I'm more skeptical for is the defense, because they lost a lot. They lost a lot of guys that they gave a lot of time, and they're gonna have 6, 7 new guys out there who never played much time last year. So, but I heard that what they're gonna put on the field is a lot faster. You're gonna have a faster defense, and they're gonna get after people this year. So hopefully that holds true. That's
the key word, what you just said, heard. And I think with each year, with more information, more people covering it, in May, everyone about their team is kind of skeptical. But summer, everybody starts thinking best case scenario with everything. Right. I'll say this about August. It is the month of happy horse stuff. Everybody's undefeated, and everyone's just figuring, well, that guy might come on. He might be our, star out of nowhere. But with that much youth, as you mentioned on defense, right, it's going to be tough. And for better or worse, we've seen Bo's defense isn't one you just plug people in.
Well, I just think defensively, and we're going to talk about defense first since we're on this topic here. I just think that everyone's the way they finished last year, the Big Ten championship, and then the Citrus Bowl they went to, how they finished those 2 games, and now you're coming back this year with an unproven defense. You couldn't stop the run. The 4 losses that they lost last year, they gave up 350 some yards total offense. And so that's going to be the key for them, is how well do they play the run. And I just think with the youth that they have and the linebackers that they have, not knowing how they're going to fit, you got 3 guys that can play there with Zion Anderson, Santos. And I've been hearing a lot about Steinkooler. Or is it Stein? No, not Steinkooler.
Santos.
No, not Santos. It's
Jared
Banderas.
Oh, Josh Banderas.
Banderas. That's
True freshman.
Southwest.
Does that scare you? Or, you can look at that 2 ways. A true freshman coming in and being...
It doesn't scare me. Why? Because I believe that linebacker is one of the places to where you can put a guy in there and just let him run. And I say that, but when you look at all the teams, all the top teams nationally, last year, look at the University of Miami, a big-name school. They started a freshman linebacker. Alabama's not afraid of playing freshmen. So I think linebacker is the one position that you can put somebody in there, but you can protect them a little bit and just let them flow to the football. So hopefully those 3 guys I just mentioned can actually pan out. And if those 3 guys pan out, they're going to make the defense a lot better than what they were last year.
Yeah, staying on linebacker, there's, we talked a lot last year about the cliche speed kills, and Coach Papuchis likes to throw it around, but we never see the proof. They like to say those things, and then you see them having bigger linebackers, Alonzo Whaley, Sean Fisher.
Right.
But at the start of this year, now maybe it was because a player was dismissed from the team, but they moved somebody who said they was going to be penciled in at safety, and Nate Gary, to linebacker. 6'2", 215, and can fly.
Yeah, but it was people, to me, get the athletes on the field. People don't realize that when Terrell Farley was here, Terrell Farley actually came here as a safety type.
Mm-hmm.
When Troy Dumas started, Troy Dumas was a safety, strong safety, and when Nebraska switched to the 4-3 defense, wanted to get the best athletes at speed on the field, those guys trickled down there, and they had great careers at those positions. So I think if you get the best guys on the field speed-wise, you can teach them how to play. Because in this league, every team is going to the zone read, spread them out, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 teams. Well, they only going to play one of those teams this year that just line up and pound the ball. But everybody else is spread them out. So get the best guys on the field and let them go. they're finally getting to the point now saying, we don't care about mistakes. They're going to happen. But we have our best athletes on the field. Athletes going to make up for mistakes.
Tommy, in yesterday's press conference, Bo said, guys are going to make mistakes, but we want them making mistakes 100 miles an hour.
That's
you
the
kind
key.
of read between that.
That's the key. That if you make a mistake full speed, you can live with that. But if you make a mistake at 75%, you can't live with that, because now you make a mistake and then you're going to put somebody else in trouble. Levante David, when he was here, was he right every time? No. Well, his motor went 100 miles per hour every play. And he made more plays when being out of position than was in position. So just go 100% when you're out there, because even though you make mistakes, something good could happen.
And they can play fast if they're not thinking. Is there too much thinking from what you've seen?
I think they might have toned it down a little bit on the philosophy of how they are calling things now, simply because it is a young defense. And when you have sophomores and redshirt sophomores and a couple of redshirt freshmen out there playing, you're going to have to tone down your terminology so those guys aren't thinking. Because the one thing you don't want is defensive guys out there thinking as they're playing.
Then that's 75%.
Then that's 75%. So hopefully you have enough of the veterans out there with Angra and a couple other guys who can get out there and help lead. But with the young guys, you got to call stuff that when they're out there, they can just float to the ball. And as the season progresses, then start implementing more of your defensive philosophy. But early in the season, give them stuff that they can handle.
You're watching Tommie Frazier's X's and O's, presented by Towers Productions. And one group that can make it a lot easier for those linebackers is the defensive line. And, people want to criticize last year's defense. And they were 7-1 in the Big Ten, so they did make some plays at times.
Right.
But the best, and to make it even more scary for Husker fans, the best player off that defense, probably Baker Steinkuhler, is gone. And then the other starter, Chase Rome, left the team. So, defensive tackle, it starts right there.
I personally thought that was the weakest part of the defense last year. When you look at the inconsistency with the linebacker play and the secondary play who had senior was senior dominant, I felt that the defensive line, if they had better play out of the defensive line, they probably could have won 2 more games last year, because the run game starts up front. And when you got guys who get blown off the ball 3 and 4 yards or being blocked by one guy, and the offensive lineman able to get up to your linebackers, that's tough. And so I honestly believe that with the guys they have now, with another year, and I'm hearing a lot of positive things about Randall Gregory. I think his name is Randall Gregory.
Yep.
If he comes in here, and I actually know his junior college coach, and he believes that Nebraska got a steal. If he can come in here and prove that from what his coach is telling me, then that's going to help that defense out, because now it's going to keep those linemen off those young linebackers. And every great run defense have 2 guys in the middle that can keep people off. If you look at Alabama, LSU, even Ohio State last year, you didn't see many guys run the ball in the middle against them, because they had 2 guys in the middle that could either make a stalemate or make things happen, change the line of scrimmage. And that's where it's going to start on with the defensive line.
And you had a name for those guys. What type of warriors were they?
I can't say that. I don't want to say that. It's still early. They call them mandingos. That's what we used to call them. You need some real big mandingos in there.
And speaking of big dudes in the middle, they moved a guy from the offensive line, 6'4", 320, Broderick Nickens. Maybe they got lucky with missing out on some junior college guys, and this guy can actually come in. But then also Vincent Valentine, 6'4", 320. But, you got to be in shape. So size is nice.
Size is nice, and weight is nice.
They might have a few more numbers. But as you mentioned, Gregory, if he can hold that in but also make the job easier for the defensive backs. There was no pass rush last year from the
There was 0 pass rush when Nebraska basically had to blitz to get pressure on the guy. And we need to get back to, and I'll be the first to say I hate going back to what happened in the past. I'm not going to go too far back, but when they had a Dominican suit. Nebraska, when Bo didn't blitz much, because they had a guy or 2 guys, him and Jared Craig, who can give a push up the middle, and they can play zone defense. Over the last couple of years, they hadn't had that. And so it forced them to blitz more and put their defense in a bind, because he didn't coach how he wanted to coach. I just think that defensive line, they have to step it up this year, because this is going to be the year for some of those coaches. And I don't want to say they might be let go. But if the defensive line doesn't play better, you're gonna hear people asking for their heads.
Well, you're right with the inconsistencies, because when Baker Steinkuhler did play to his ceiling, like the Wisconsin game last year, that was almost Sue-like, Jared Crick-like.
Right.
So while Steinkuhler had some very good games, overall it was a little.
It wasn't
up and
consistent.
down.
It wasn't consistent to one. You didn't know who he was going to show up against. And when
But they might not even have that good a player, so.
But they don't need that good of a player. They just need the whole group to mesh together and work as a unit. And that's all they ask. That's all anyone's going to ask a defensive line is to work together and get pushed. We don't need a stud. We need the group to do their job as a unit and take some of the pressure off the secondary and the linebackers.
And a unit with a little more expectations on it is the offensive unit. And when we come back, we'll talk about almost the opposites. Not freshmen, sophomores, junior, seniors, fifth-year seniors on the offensive line, and that quarterback guy, but whatever his name is. When we come back...
Mr. Heisman, right? Mr. Heisman.
Just being Mr. All-Conference is enough for Nebraska.
That's all they need. That's all they need for him to be.
We'll take it.
When we come back on Touchdown Tommie, X's and O's, presented by Towers Productions.
Welcome back to Tommie Frazier's X's and O's. We just talked about the young defense, so now we're going to look at the veteran opposite side of the ball. Let's talk about the offense.
I'm excited about the offense. I think they have a lot of experience. You know, the one position I'm excited to see is the wide receivers. I think those guys are a year older, and those are the playmakers. And I think those guys, if you get the guys the right ball, get the ball into the right guys, you're gonna make the good thing. You're gonna open up the run game, because I know everyone's wanting to see the young running backs have a big rushing year. But until Nebraska can prove they can throw the ball through consistently, I don't think it's gonna help the running back. So I think when you got Jamal Turner, Milway, Kenny Bell, and there's another guy, Alonzo Moore. Redshirt freshman. If those four guys can step their game up and make plays, it's going to be a great season for the offense.
And I'll throw my man Jordan Westerkamp, redshirt freshman, like Alonzo Moore.
Mm-hmm.
He might be more of the route runner, just stick 'em hands.
Right, and
he's the one that Notre Dame wanted.
Right, I was going to say Westerkamp, but the reason why I did say Westerkamp, because you never know how he's going to respond coming off that knee injury. And when you tear your ACL as a receiver, he had some type of injury last year that he made redshirt.
Okay.
And so
they got cleaned up.
Yeah, that got cleaned up. Something with his knee got cleaned up, and you never know how he's going to respond once he gets the game action. Going through practice would have to come up with injury, so everything's fine. But until you have to explode full speed all the time, you never have. But he's another guy that can help the passing game.
Yeah, Tommy, you mentioned the kind of the stars of the receiving corps, but you can only go to battle with one of the receivers. Who do you take, and why?
Well, of course, you have to go with Kenny Bell, because he's proven. He's proven. He made plays last year. He's the one guy that teams are going to focus on. Mm-hmm. But don't send me to battle with one receiver when you have.
Well, I just did
with three guys. But if you say who's the go-to guy right now, mm-hmm. Kenny Bell's the go-to guy. Mm-hmm. And if you say who's the go-to guy as the season progresses, I'm a firm believer it's going to be Jamal Turner. I've always been high on Jamal Turner. I don't know why. I guess because of his athleticism, him being a quarterback coming out of high school, and the things that he did in his first spring game here, and in return game, and when he got the ball, he made things happen. And now that he's more comfortable in the system, he knows the terminology, he knows the plays. I'm looking for a breakout year for him. And I said last year, if they don't give him the ball 15 times a game, they're missing the boat. And late in the season, he started making plays.
And he had the big catch at Michigan State to win the game, his first touchdown catch. And from that point on, he had a lot of big catches the rest of the year.
Right.
But I agree, Kenny Bell's kind of the bell cow, the guy who can do a little bit of everything, and the speed.
The speed.
But Quincy Anun was kind of almost steady for 3 years, a little more physical guy. I wish they might even look at him at tight, but they won't.
Well, I think with Quincy
he's as big as Kyler Reed.
He's a big physical guy to where he's a guy that if you need a 6-yard slant route over the middle, give him the ball. If you need to throw it up for grabs, give it to him. If you're someone that got to make a big play, the guy to get the ball quick to make a play, you got to go with either Jamal Turner or Kenny Bell. Another way is that guy, it's more of a possession receiver to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a deep threat guy
Red
unless
zone.
a red zone type guy. He can be a deep threat guy if you do a play action pass or you sneak him out. But him being somebody deep 1-on-1, it's gonna be tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think that they have a
lot of options.
I think they have a lot of options at receiver to where it's gonna be exciting because now it's gonna be who do we get the ball to? It's only one football. And so those guys will be competing for the ball, and I'm a firm believer you get it to the guys who's making things happen.
Yeah, and then along with the receivers, unfortunately they don't have the depth coming back at tight end with Ben Cotton and Kyler Reed graduating. And Jake Cotton was kind of the steady go-to guy, not a burner, but he's a little nicked up. And there could be another true freshman, Stephen Carter.
Well, I think with this offense, man, from what they were trying to do last year to where they want to get a 2 tight end and be a power running team, with the talent they have this year, I don't think they need to play much tight end because I think if they don't have a talent that don't force it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stick with what you have, stick with the things that you can that can work. And then implement the tight end as the season goes when those guys start getting healthy. But start the season, if I see them in 2 tight ends when they know they don't have it, it's going to be a long year.
Yeah, you brought up formations. What formation do you like to see them in most?
I like to see them 4 wide. The 4 wide, so the 4 receivers, the quarterback, and with this offense, with this system, that the 4 wide gets them their best talent on the field. And I've always been, get your talent on the field. Because talented players make play. Now, if they had the Kyler Reeds and the Cotton, or the dominant offensive line, I'll say get in tight end, 2 tight end, 2 backs, and a pound it. But that's not what this offense is. So based off what this offense does, to me, the best personnel for them is the 4 wides with Amir and Martinez in the backfield.
But you still have Taylor at quarterback throwing, and we know his decision making has improved greatly. And I'm the biggest Taylor Martinez fan there is.
Oh yes, you are. You were the first of the bed.
False. False. It's already started. First show. Accusations.
Might as well. It's not an accusation. It's a fact. Oh no, excuse me. It was Rex Burkhead. My bad.
Okay.
It's Burkhead.
Okay. Get your slanderous comments straight. But to me, the biggest strength of this team is Taylor's legs. A running quarterback. Because the one thing, and the pass protection, I'm just not a big fan of this team throwing the ball around a lot. I don't think the tackles are very good. Taylor doesn't, and maybe Tommie Armstrong will be better, but Taylor's legs are special. I want that.
But you asked me a question what I think was the best formation. And the reason why I said the 4 wides is because now you're going to start spreading the defense out and letting Taylor Martinez find holes in the deal.
Okay, on the read option.
On the read options, on read stuff, or even have to drop back, they're not all congesting there. So then when you asked me, I was thinking of what gives Taylor the best opportunity to run and throw the football. And a running quarterback, the more people you put in the box, the harder it's for them to find lanes and find gaps. Well, if you spread them out, they have to spread out with you. And that's why this offense is so perfect for the talent that they have on offense this year, because now you have 2 slot receivers. If they want to try to play you from inside out, get to those guys quick, let them make plays. But if they spread out, now you can run Taylor or Amir in there. So that's why, to me, this year, that formation is going to be the best for them because they have 4 talented guys at receiver that can make defenses play on us.
Well, they might have 5 when you add the
Weston when you have Weston
those guys. So they definitely have options there. And we talked about Taylor Senior.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks still kind of hung up on his mechanics, but at the end of the day, running is his thing. When talking about the read option, what 1 or 2 things does he have to do well, or any read option quarterback? Because it's not the same as the option you ran.
Well, I think the one thing he's going to have to do is prove that he can throw the ball more consistent. Because when he throws the ball more consistent, it opens up his ability to be able to run, because it's going to force the defense to have to spread out and start covering receivers. If he doesn't prove that he can throw the ball, and he completed over 60% of his passes last year, but it still wasn't enough
against better teams.
Better teams that went down. If he completes 60% of his passes this year, now with better receivers, guys who can make plays happen, just get the ball quick, it's going to open things up for him to where he won't have to run as much. It seemed like last year, 90% of the time he got a big play, it was because he was scrambling and he had to run the ball. This year he's going to get big plays if he's throwing the ball like he's supposed to and he can catch them, because that's what they give him.
Brittany, you play football right now for the Omaha Hearts, and you were a safety. If Taylor Martinez came up in the hole, how would you meet him?
You know, like we in the NFL at least, where it's 7-on-7, you like the running quarterback. It gives you some options. It keeps you where it's a challenge. You know, and so I think with just like you said, when they spread you out and you're compromising, you're coming out of your zone.
7-on-7, you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a different game. And you know, when you see that running quarterback, especially in our league where everybody's an eligible receiver, it just adds that challenge.
And you have to count for that person.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those tight ends are coming out. The whole O line is an option, and so there's a lot to look at.
Yeah, and Tommie's mentioned before that college football is all going towards more running quarterbacks. Things are cyclical, and even it's going down to the LFL. But Tommie, that statue quarterback doesn't give you that 11-on-11.
It does, because now if you look at the top teams from last year alone that had drop back quarterbacks, how many of them were successful?
Besides Alabama?
and why was Alabama successful? Because
dominant line.
They had a dominant line.
It's tough to get there.
And it's tough to get there. And they also had young talent receivers that they can just throw the ball up and let them go get it. When you don't have a dominant line, and I go back to a guy who was a head coach at San Jose State, and when I was coaching at Baylor, my last year, they brought him in there. And he said, you have to keep an offense so simple to where the offensive line don't have to think about it. They can line and go block the thing
again.
You go out and block it. So keep it simple for the offensive line, because at the end of the day, the receivers, running back, quarterback are supposed to be the smartest guys on the field anyway. When they're supposed to be able to adjust quicker. When offensive line, make it so simple to them. If they got to block something, it's right in front of them. And that's what the zone read and spread offense is for. It's to let the offensive coordinator make the calls. And so that's why you start to see a lot of the guys, teams going to it now. Because now the offensive coordinator can control it from the press box. Okay, they got 6 guys in the box. We only have 6 guys. We can run it. They start cheating 7. Now it's time for us to throw it. I mean, so it's all about a numbers game. And even with the option offense that we ran, it was all about numbers. Even though we were 2 tight most of the time, or 3 running back, it still went to numbers. How many guys do they have over here versus over there?
Yeah, and Coach Osborne's last couple of years, it was even a little more so with Scott Frost being in shotgun, which he was more in shotgun, but he came back down.
And that started with us. Mm-hmm. That started with my senior year, to where we got more shotgun than we showed before, so we got more.
Did you have 2 backs with you a lot of shotgun?
Not much. And then we got into a lot of empty, trying to spread them out, and that way it keeps the running game by the quarterback in. So even Coach Osborne, known as the option, his offense was so multiple and so complicated to where it wasn't easy. And I think that what Nebraska's trying to do now is get back to that, but just doing it a different way, out of more shotgun stuff.
You turn your head and a wingback would be coming out of the option.
Right.
Out of that. And you're like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be a simple offense.
And it's not. And boy, going back to, it needs to be simple for that offensive line, because without a good offensive line, without a confident offensive line, no matter what offense you run, it's not going to work.
You're watching Tommie Frazier's X's and O's, presented by Towers Production. And in the last segment, Tommie, you mentioned a position, linebacker, that guys can come in as true freshmen and play. And we have a proven product in Amir, and kind of a running back, fullback in Amani Cross. I'm not sure how they're going to use them, but they're going to need some carries, and they have 2 true freshmen who are coming and doing okay. How much of a challenge for Terrell Newby and Adam Scott?
I think offensively, that is the one position that you can have a freshman come in and make an impact. Simply because you can control what he sees. You can control the plays that he runs. To where at quarterback, you got to know everything. Offensive line is tougher for a freshman, but you got to know blitzes and this. Receivers, okay, but still got to know how to read coverages. For running back, you can put them out there and say, okay, on this play, you run through here. You don't really have to worry about anything else. On pass protection, you're going to block this guy. You can control it. So when you put a freshman out there, you can run things that he feel more comfortable with. So I think those. They
might have to.
I think by them being freshmen, I don't think it's really going to hurt Nebraska much, because they don't put too much. They don't put too much pressure on their running backs to do a lot of dual rating when it comes to pass protection.
Yeah, and the last thing, one running back we'll probably be mentioning this year, redshirt freshman by the name of King Frazier.
Oh, the King is in. The King is in.
A walk-on from Missouri.
And I'm just telling you, with the young talent that they put together on offense, and with the upperclassmen, this is a great year for those guys because now they're coming into a situation to where they don't have to be the starters. Where defense is a little bit different to where young guys come in, they don't have to pan out because they don't have anybody else. So I think offense is going to be. I'm not too much concerned about offense. If I am concerned about one thing on the offense, is how well the offense line plays and how consistent they play. Because last year they had some good games, and then they had some games where they didn't do much. And if they can go out there and play consistent, and one, don't get Taylor hurt. Two, protect. Three, you don't need to open big holes. Just don't get beat off the ball.
6 inches of daylight.
Yeah, and give those running backs an opportunity to do things, then I think they're going to be fine offensively. Now, they're talking about scoring 50 points a game. To me, I think that's wishful thinking because how many
Yeah, they
teams,
do it in a reckless manner.
because how many teams last year scored 50 points? I think the only team that scored, well, one team scored 49 points. That was the closest team. And so, 50, we're talking about you going to average 50 points a game. That's taught a lot. And so when you say that, now you're putting pressure. Now that to me, that's billboard material for a team defense that you're going to face. They make sure that they don't score 50 on us. They want to average 50. They don't score 50 points.
Well, that's all talk, and that talk is going to stop finally this Saturday night, 7 p.m. down at Memorial Stadium against Wyoming. And Brittany, any player to watch specifically?
You know what?
We'll go around.
Absolutely.
Player to watch.
I'm excited to see. I think that fullback, halfback position that we talked about is open. And I think with Amani Cross, he just has so much power that he's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be using his tools, where they're going to put him, and how he's going to be an asset to the team. He's a good athlete.
For me, my focus is on the defense side of the ball. I want to see how well that defensive line plays because they're playing against a team 2 years ago that took them down to the wire. And this is a team that's going to spread you out, and this is the third year, fourth year of this coaching staff from Wyoming. So they're going to be ready to play because you got the head coach Dave Christensen, who came from Missouri, who actually beat Nebraska with this staff. So I want to see how well that defensive line plays. See if they can get pressure on the quarterback.
And for his last shot, go around fifth-year senior, Jason Ankra. I just hope he kind of does a Mike Rucker and has that last year where he really comes on strong.
He gets it.
Well, he's going to start getting it this Saturday night, one way or the other. We'll be talking about it next week.
What's your prediction? What's your prediction on the score?
45-17. Good guys.
Oh, you're going out. So you think they're going to get close to 50, huh?
Oh, that's going to be bulletin board material for the Huskers. Now, analyst says they fall short of goal.
Well, you're usually wrong anyway, so it doesn't matter.
How about you?
I think it's going to be probably a 35-21 game. I think it's going to be close to what people think it is because it is the first game of the season, and defensively, you're going to have a lot of mental mistakes to where Wyoming's going to find ways to put some points on the board. But I think offense is going to do enough early in this game to get up ahead, and they're going to start playing some reserve. So I think it'll be a 35-21 game.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go 35-14, somewhere in between, and you guys can actually submit your predictions on the Touchdown Tommie Twitter page or our Facebook. And actually, we have a few fans that have already submitted some questions this year for Jimmy and Tommie. The first being, what do you think about the black alternate uniforms for the UCLA game? You seen them? They're different.
They're different. For me, I don't care for them because I think it's taken away from the tradition of Nebraska colors. I've never seen black in any of the colors that Nebraska had there. I think their natural color is scarlet and cream. But I also understand why they're doing it because now you're trying to. It's more of a marketing. It's a marketing thing right now, and you see all these other schools coming out with different type of jerseys to where if you want to keep up with the Joneses, you have to do stuff like that. And I think it's more from a recruiting side of it, showing teams that hey, we're willing to make a change and be more not predictable when it comes to our uniforms. So I don't care for it, but I understand why they're doing it.
Definitely. Oregon, I think, was a pioneer with just coming out with the wild uniforms. It's mixing it up, and look at the athletes they got. You know what I mean? They like that. They like to see it. How about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, last year, I just remember getting a sick feeling when I saw the alternate jerseys for the Wisconsin game, which were red on red with a black helmet. So at least this year isn't as crazy. But I just think the black shirt is just such a sacred thing in our thing. Just leave it to the tradition it is. And the only thing I really want to see is are colors flipped on the helmet. Give me a red helmet with a white in. But the problem is they don't sell helmets, so they're not really going to mess with that too much. As Tommie mentioned, it's why you see alternate jerseys in NFL, basketball,
Right.
Yeah.
NBA, or Major League Baseball. It's a money thing, and that's fine if they need money. It's okay. The black and white. I don't know. The only thing I'll say about uniforms is Nebraska's red pants with white stripes is one of the most beautiful pieces of uniform. I still get upset when I think.
Now those people claim to be a sports now. Now he's a fashion analyst.
Those red pants are great. Those red pants are great. So,
oh gosh.
the university makes the call, and it is what it is.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's only for one game, so I think we, being a former player, being an old traditional, I think I can handle it for one game.
Your first game as a starter was white on white.
My first game as a starter was white on white, and we won
Got
that
the
game.
win.
And then I think the next time
We're not talking.
we
I'm not talking about the Iowa
played
State
Iowa State. We lost that. I think we did white on white ever since then. So,
Yeah.
when I played, Frank Solis did the white on white. Look what happened that year.
We all know that superstition plays a big part in sports. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
One last question that we've been seeing from fans is everyone's wondering about that number 2 spot at quarterback. What are you guys thinking coming in?
I'll let Jimmy start this.
Well, coming off of spring with the coaches saying the redshirt freshman has a bit of an advantage, I think that means they're kind of almost wanting it to play out, because seeing Tommie Armstrong in the spring game run that read option, it looks like they're kind of wanting a little more mobile quarterback. And I think Tommie Armstrong runs the sprint option better than Taylor, so it might be something where they want to give teams a different look. Whereas Ron Kellogg's done solid and everything, but he's just not as mobile. But it's tough to discount a fifth-year senior, especially who can throw the ball a little.
And that's
Tommie had that knee cleaned up too.
And you hit the head on the spot. You hit the nail right on the head. To me, I think that it's Taylor and it's Ron Kellogg the third. And as the season progresses, then you're going to start seeing Tommie Armstrong moving ahead of Ron Kellogg. Why? Not because he's better, but I think that they're building for the future. And when you start getting a young guy in the game to play early on, you do it. But like I said, he had the knee cleaned up, so you don't know how healthy he really is. So and Ron Kellogg hasn't done anything not to be the number 2 guy. And so everyone wants Tommie Armstrong in there, but you got a guy, Ron Kellogg the third.
He threw the ball well.
He threw the ball in the spring
Probably
game.
The best
he threw the ball better than Taylor or anybody else who won the game. And he didn't make mistakes. So I don't want to see him demoted based on what he did in spring. Because Tommie Armstrong to me really didn't do much to say solid number 2. But I want to see Tommie take over, because next year when Taylor's going and Ron Kellogg's done, you want to have a guy who's gotten that experience. You want him to be the backup. So
absolutely.
Tommie, are you a fan of getting that second? I'm not. Of getting the second stringer in unless he can compete at a high level, like when Brooke kind of came in for you.
No, I think
Coach Pinkel did it regardless.
I'm a fan of, if he's your number 2, play him as early and often as you can within your game plan, because you never know what's going to happen at the end of the season. And I think one of the downfalls of Nebraska over the last 3 or 4 years was that they played one guy basically 98% of the snaps. And if something was, and knock on wood or whatever you want to knock on, nothing happens to Taylor. But if something happens to him this year, well, something happened to him last year, then Nebraska won in the football games after that. So I think you have to get those guys. If they're your number 2 guy, get them in the game early, and to just for a series so they can feel the flow of it. And then when the game, if Nebraska's winning 35-21 with 5 minutes left in the game, play those guys. You got to give them an opportunity to get there and play, because if you don't, something's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like Coach Osborne only did that with you and Brooke, not before you or after you with Scott. So I could be completely wrong, as you pointed out. I'm wrong a lot. But it seemed like Brooke had showed that he could come in 94 and compete at a high level. But I don't know that Nebraska has Ron Kellogg or Tommie Armstrong doing that right now.
But I think they can. I think that if that's your number 2 guy, you have to get them in a game early. And simply.
What if you might give up that game trying to get him experience?
Okay. Here's a perfect example. think it was, I can't remember what Louisiana Tech when Scott was quarterback and he didn't do so well, and they brought Frank
Central
London,
Florida.
and they brought Frank London, and then Frank London drives him down the field and scores.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that lit a fire under Scott.
That's my point exactly. So I'm saying, so if you go out there and you put them two guys and he does something, what do you think the number one guy's gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Or something was to happen to the number one guy, now you have confidence that the number two guy can do it. So I think the earlier you can get them in the game when the game is still on the line to give them reps, and if it's just 1 series, 3 and out, at least you got them in there. But that experience early in the game is a lot better than mop-up stuff.
Yeah, I agree that is invaluable, but it almost backfired on Gary Pinkel in
That's
2005.
Gary Pinkel.
They were talking about Nebraska.
We're talking about Nebraska.
He brought in, I think it was the Booger Eater before he was really good, and Nebraska got back in the game. So that can backfire on you. And there's coaches across.
The quicker you get those guys in the game, if it's your backup, the better off you are you're preparing for a long season.
Well, I just care about that season, not the seasons after.
I say a long season.
Yeah.
Not that season, but a long season.
Talk about future quarterbacks. One of our top recruits who were looking down in Popka, Florida, had 2 concussions in a high school game last week. Did you guys hear about that? And
yeah,
it's scary, you know.
I heard he was life flighted off.
It was actually on national TV. If you're a true football player, you know it was on national TV.
I was preparing for this show.
I think it's just one of those deals to where you got to be, as a quarterback, you got to be smart, especially when you got so much right on the line. I understand that you're playing for that moment, that deal, but then sometimes you got to learn to get out of bounds, get down, and sometimes you got to learn to take a hit. And I'm a firm, and in these day and age, when you're a quarterback and you run to the sideline like that, the best thing to do is get out of bounds.
Yeah, Tommy, I didn't see the play. What happened?
Well, it was one of those deals where it was a sprint out or some type of run, and he kept the ball and was running. Made one guy miss, and as he was going out of bounds, somebody came and just hit him, and looked like his head hit the ground.
Oh, okay.
It was a hard hit, and his head hit the ground, and he was down for about 4 or 5 minutes. You know, so I think as being on one of those mobile quarterbacks, athletic quarterbacks, zone type quarterbacks, you have to be smart. You have to protect yourself, and I don't think he did a very good job of protecting himself on that play. And I'm happy to see that he's out of the hospital now and on his way back to recovery. But I hope that they don't try to play him right away. I hope they give him 4, 5, 6.
His dad's the head coach.
4, 5, 6, even 7 weeks to make sure that everything upstairs is back to normal before they put him back out there. Because I mean, when you get your brain around and you're out for 4 or 5 minutes, there's something serious going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he has a speedy recovery to where he can eventually regain his start playing again, and then come to Nebraska and do great things.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys, and it's going to be an exciting year. We're looking forward to it. Again, you can submit your questions on Touchdown Tommie's Facebook page or Twitter page. Any final thoughts, guys?
Let's go out and have fun. First game's game week.
Let's do it.
Jason Ankra.
We go, J-Boy. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Touchdown Tommie's X's and O's.